I was having a moment, an existential moment, a moment where it felt like the pressure cooker was getting to that point where it makes that sound, like a movie scene where you go into this room and all the walls from all sides starts to kind of get closer and closer, and the pressure feels so intense you just want to say I feel like I'd been living with a sense of insecurity and uncertainty for such a long time. It seems like for my life, at least, the signature has been a lot of uprooting, upheavaling, moving around. A lot of it at the beginning was due to unforeseen circumstances that I could not control or predict as I was a child. And then later on, I think I made those choices perhaps to feed that pattern myself, and in a way because I'd grown comfortable to that sense of uprooting and insecurity. So in a moment of desperation, I sent an SOS out to my closest friends, and I waited for the helping hands to reach me. Have you ever fast forwarded to the end of a story before that story has even been written? Have you ever gone into a new situation and thought about all the worst possible outcomes there could be? Do you ever find yourself having morbid thoughts? I think a lot of these are defense mechanisms. Basically, what we're doing is we're preparing ourselves for the inevitable, which is a sense of loss, a sense of disconnection, a sense of having to end something and start all over again. I don't need to tell you that this form of catastrophizing situations is not helpful. This form of giving ourselves these narratives to sort of prepare the outcome of the worst outcome possibility does not protect us. In case, if anything, I think there creates a self-fulfilling prophecy. And then what happens if it does end up that way? You get to tell yourself, see, I was right. I knew this wasn't going to work out. So let me pause here. I am smart enough to know this, yet I am not wise enough to live this. Let me say it one more time. I'm smart enough to know it, but not yet wise enough to live it. I do believe this is something a lot of us struggle with, where we come to head with a core belief we've had about ourselves, whether it's I'm not good enough, I'm not capable, I'm unloved, I'm uncared for. Any of those messages that have been so loud and resonant in your life that once you arrive to a certain point of this is enough, you begin to have this awareness and just start looking into how to overcome or how to heal those parts of ourselves. That first contact of awareness is incredibly important. You go from just living unconsciously and attracting certain things or doing certain things, behaviors or thought patterns or actions, and not being able to connect dots to the point of being, oh, this is the reason why. But I think the frustration comes in when you do put in the work. 2 months later, a year later, 10 years later, a situation triggers us again, and we realize that there was more layers to it. You've heard it many times, I'm sure, the healing process is not linear. I think it's not linear, but it might be a spiral. So if you think about it, if I have an issue here and as I spiral up, I might meet it again, but I am going upward, and you just keep ascending as you work through those things. A lot of times uncertainty becomes overwhelming because we're living too much in the future. And yes, I know, just like you know, that present is all we have. I am tired of hearing it. It is a lot easier said than done. But here's a quote from Christopher Isherwood. A few times in my life, I've had moments of absolute clarity, when for a few brief seconds, the silence drowns out the noise, and I can feel rather than think. And things seem so sharp, and the world seems so fresh. It's as though it had all just come into existence. I can never make these moments last. I cling to them, but like everything, they fade. I have lived my life on these moments. They pull me back to the present, and I realize that everything is exactly the way it was meant to be. And then, like most of us, we're drawn back into the next conflict, the next what if, and the next only then. And even though I knew better than to dwell in a future that did not exist yet, I was paralyzed by this feeling of uncertainty. What does it feel like to have a definitive sense of grounded security? And could I ever remember having it? What does grounded security feel like or look like to you? Let me know in the comments. And I do know that sense of security has to come from within. Is security one large pillar in our life? Is it our career? Is it a partner, a spouse? Is it our children? Or is it a mixture of things, a community, peer groups, or hobbies? Or are all of those things just mere band-aids, trying to fill this sort of longing and hole that is in all of us? I was listening to a podcast with Tim Ferriss interviewing Susan Cain. She's talking about how every one of us has a sense of melancholy within, and it's tied to a bigger sense of longing. It's almost as if we subconsciously know we've been casted out of Eden or something better that is just on the other side, and we are forever trying to reach, yet we cannot. If you're a more spiritual person, perhaps it's coming back home to source, or if you're less inclined, perhaps it's coming back home to ourselves. So how do we live with that sense of longing that can possibly never be fulfilled? I'm not sure, but I think it's something along the lines of we learn to live with it. We learn to befriend it. We alchemize it internally, and in our own individual unique ways express it outwardly. And I think this is why it's such a common human experience that we enjoy things like art and music, film, television, literature. When you hear a song that provokes a feeling, a sense of longing, or a sense of loss within you, when you read a book written by a complete stranger who seems to know you as if they are you. It's why we dance, it's why we build, it's why we seek, it's why we ask questions. We're all in our own unique ways fighting against entropy. Entropy is often called the arrow of time because matter in isolated systems tend to move from order to disorder. And as my peers heard my SOS message and answered my questions, what I realized that no matter what external life circumstances that differ for each of us, all of us experience the sense of chaos, uncertainty, and entropy. And the trick is to learn to live with it, make peace with it, befriend it, find moments of clarity, moments of gratuity, moments where we remember to come up for air. To not discard the desire for order, but to gently hold life with an open palm and not a tight fist. Because the only constant is change, and no matter how hard we fight against the storms that find us, they eventually find us. And I hope you can, in your own ways, allow the weight of uncertainty to transform into a willingness for life to surprise you and delight you and carry you through over and over and over. If you made it to this part of the video, please leave a heart emoji in the comments below and share any thoughts that you might have had about uncertainty in whatever areas of your life. I would love to hear how you cope. What are your mechanisms? What are the things that you've had to rewrite in your own belief systems or narratives? Thank you guys so much for being here. If you want to sign up for the Modern Pen Pal list, I'm currently going through a restructuring of it where I think I'm going to start formatting them to be not as lengthy as I used to send them out, maybe a little bit more shorter chunks of the things that I've been contemplating, ideas, sort of like a Tim Ferriss or James Clear type of a format. So if you want to sign up for that, links are down below in the description. I can't wait to see you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye.